Okay, so, when we think about menopause, right, it's often all about, the hot flashes, trouble sleeping, feeling like things are just, going downhill,
Yeah,
kind of like bracing yourself for this, inevitable change.
right.
But I wonder, is that really the only way to think about this, like, huge life transition?
Well, that's a great question, and that's exactly what we're diving into today.
I like that.
So let's just take a step back from that kind of usual story we hear, and let's head over to Japan.
Okay.
Their whole perspective on menopause is called Konenki, and it offers a really different way of looking at things.
Konenki.
Yeah.
I mean, it even sounds different,
Oh,
right?
that does.
So we're not just trying to, add a new word to our vocabulary here.
Right.
We really want to understand this Japanese view and see if it can offer, our listeners a more positive, maybe even like empowering way to go through this time.
Absolutely.
Can we actually like shift gears and see this not as something to be scared of, but as a, an opening to something new?
Exactly. And to really get the full picture, we've looked at a bunch of different sources. We have research that compares the experiences of women in Japan and the West as they go through menopause.
Yep.
And we also have some insights from this wellness brand that's actually called Konenki.
Interesting.
We've got some thoughts from a health and fitness expert who really focuses on supporting women through menopause with this Konenki approach.
Okay.
And we even found some personal stories online about what this concept means to people.
So really a 360 view.
Yeah.
One thing that really jumped out at me is that Japanese women, they live a really long time, like one of the highest life expectancies in the world.
Yeah.
But it seems like their medical community only recently started really focusing on menopause.
It's interesting when you look back historically, the average lifespan for women in Japan used to be a lot shorter.
Okay.
And so there just weren't as many women living into those postmenopausal years.
Makes sense.
And that kind of explains why there wasn't as much medical attention on it. Even the word Konenki is fairly new. It popped up around the beginning of the 20th century.
Oh, wow.
And it was actually influenced by some German medical ideas.
Interesting.
But as life expectancy increased, the Japanese government started recognizing menopausal symptoms as part of their healthcare system.
Okay, so let's really dig into this idea of Konenki.
Okay.
Because, you hear it described as the years of transition or like a sense of new purpose and growth.
Yeah.
And that just feels so different from how we talk about menopause in the West.
It really is a fundamentally different way of looking at things.
Yeah.
In Western cultures, we tend to focus on those difficult symptoms, the sense of loss that can come with, not being able to have children anymore.
Right.
But in Japan, Konenki is seen as a time of transformation.
Okay.
There's this deep respect for age in Japan. Older people are valued for their wisdom and experience. And that seems to extend to how menopause is seen. It's not a decline, but a natural step into a respected and valuable stage of life.
It's like the way they think about aging kind of makes it a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Right.
If aging is good, then menopause as part of aging is also seen as good.
Exactly.
Now, you mentioned symptoms. And the research we looked at shows some really interesting differences in what women experience.
Yeah, that's one of the most fascinating parts.
Yeah.
One of the biggest differences is in hot flashes and night sweats.
Yeah, those are the big ones we always hear about.
Right, and studies comparing Japanese women to women in North America show that those symptoms are way less common in Japan.
How much less?
Well, one study said only about 9.5% of Japanese women had hot flashes in the 2 weeks before the study.
Wow.
And only 3.6% had night sweats.
Wow.
But in a similar study in Canada, almost 31% of women had hot flashes and nearly 20% had night sweats.
That's a huge difference.
It really is. And it's interesting. Some of the sources mention that the Japanese language doesn't even have a single word for hot flash. So it makes you wonder, is it actually happening less, or are they just experiencing it and talking about it differently?
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have a word for it, does it even exist?
Right, exactly.
But that doesn't mean Japanese women have no symptoms, right?
Oh, no, not at all.
What else do they experience?
They do report other things more often than women in North America.
Yeah.
Things like, gray hair, changes in eyesight, some short-term memory problems, headaches, stiff shoulders, dizziness, and general aches and pains.
Oh, okay.
And also just feeling tired and worn out.
So it's like a different set of symptoms.
Yeah, it seems that way.
And what's interesting, too, is that Konenki is seen as this gradual change that's part of aging.
Right.
It starts around 40 or 45, not just when periods stop.
Exactly. It's connected to the whole aging process, not just the end of menstruation. And the research actually shows that a good number of postmenopausal Japanese women didn't even feel like they went through Konenki.
Really?
So for them, the end of their periods wasn't the big defining event. It was just one part of getting older.
Makes you think about the role of diet.
Right.
We always hear about how healthy the traditional Japanese diet is.
Mm-hmm.
Could that be a big reason why they have a different experience with menopause?
It definitely seems to play a role.
Okay.
The Japanese eat a lot of soy-based foods like tofu, miso, tempeh, edamame,
Yeah.
and these are full of something called phytoestrogens, specifically isoflavones.
Phytoestrogen.
Yeah, and basically they have a structure that's similar to the estrogen in our bodies. So they can kind of act like gentle hormonal balancers and potentially help reduce those symptoms like hot flashes.
And they've been eating these foods forever, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's not like they're just adding soy to their diet now.
It's a lifelong thing.
Right, it's a way of life.
And it's not just soy, right?
No, it's a whole package.
Yeah.
Fish, seaweed, green tea.
What do those do?
Well, fish is a great source of omega-3 fatty acids, which are good for your heart and might help with some of the discomforts of menopause because they can reduce inflammation. Seaweed gives you important minerals like iodine, which is really crucial for your thyroid.
And that can be all over the place during menopause.
Exactly, and green tea is packed with antioxidants.
So good for you.
And another key thing is that the traditional Japanese diet isn't loaded with processed foods and unhealthy fats like a lot of Western diets.
Right.
So that makes a big difference for overall health and how your body handles those hormonal changes.
It really sounds like it's the whole combination of things in their diet that helps.
It seems that way.
But our sources also said that diet isn't the only factor, right?
You're right, there could be some genetic stuff at play too.
Oh, like what?
Well, maybe some people are just better at processing those phytoestrogens, or their bodies react differently to hormonal shifts.
Makes sense.
But I think the cultural and attitude piece we talked about earlier is just as important, if not more so.
Like how menopause is seen and talked about in society.
Exactly. That can really shape a woman's experience.
So in Japan, where they see aging as a positive thing, menopause is just part of that positive journey.
Exactly.
Versus here, where we're so focused on youth and staying young,
Yeah.
menopause can feel like this big loss.
That's a really insightful way to put it.
It's like biology and culture all mixed together.
It really is.
And thinking about it that way could be really helpful for our listeners.
Absolutely. Reframing that perspective can be so powerful.
Okay, so beyond diet and this cultural attitude, are there any traditional things that Japanese women do to help with symptoms?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like what?
They have this whole system called Campo medicine.
Okay, what's that?
It uses herbal remedies, but it's tailored to each person.
Interesting.
Like they'll look at your specific symptoms and constitution and create a blend just for you.
Huh. So personalized medicine.
Yeah, and there's this one formula called Kishibukuryogen.
Try saying that 3 times fast.
I know, right?
But what's that one for?
Well, traditionally it's used to improve blood circulation and deal with some gynecological issues.
Okay.
And then there's acupuncture, which is really popular in Japan too.
Huh. Yeah, I've heard of that.
It's thought to reduce stress balance energy and even affect hormones.
I've always wanted to try acupuncture.
You should. It's very relaxing.
Okay, and I can't forget about the hot springs.
Oh, yeah, the onsen.
Onsen, right?
Yes.
I've heard so much about those.
They're not just for relaxing, though. They're also believed to help with physical aches and pains.
Which can be a big part of menopause.
Exactly.
So it's like this whole mix of personalized herbs, energy work, and healing from nature.
It's a very holistic approach.
And it seems like lifestyle is a big part of the picture, too.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so what do they do?
Well, things like mindfulness and this idea of ikigai are really important in their culture.
Ikigai.
Yeah, it means like finding your purpose, your reason for being.
That's beautiful.
Isn't it? And that focus on purpose really helps with stress and emotional well-being.
And I bet community is important, too.
Huge. They have really strong social connections, and that provides a lot of support.
So important.
And they also do gentle exercise like Tai Chi and yoga.
Oh, yeah, I love yoga.
It's great for flexibility, balance, and just being more present in your body.
Yeah.
And those are all things that can help manage stress, too.
So many good ideas here for our listeners.
Right.
It's like their whole way of life prioritizes balance and well-being.
Which sets you up to handle those changes in menopause.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And I heard that there's even a wellness brand now called Konenki.
That's right.
Really?
Yeah, they've taken inspiration from this whole Japanese concept.
Wow.
Their mission is to empower people during those natural life transitions.
That's cool.
And they focus on creating natural products that are backed by science to help with hormonal balance and menopausal symptoms.
So they're trying to bring that positive Konenki view to more people.
Exactly.
What kind of stuff do they offer?
Well, they're all about a holistic approach.
Oh,
They use really high-quality natural ingredients that are sourced responsibly.
good.
And they also have a WhatsApp group where people can connect and share their experiences and tips.
That's a little community. And what about their products?
One of their main ones is called Hormonal Harmony.
Hormonal harmony.
It's a blend of ashwagandha vitex and maca root.
I've heard of those.
They've all been used traditionally to support hormones and relieve symptoms like bloating and hot flashes.
Yeah, those are the big ones.
Right, and they've got lots of positive reviews from people who say it's helped them.
So interesting how a traditional idea can lead to these modern solutions.
It's pretty amazing.
And we also had a chance to hear from an expert named Josephine,
Oh, yeah, from Konenki Health.
right? Konenki Health. What's her perspective?
Well, what makes her perspective so unique is that she's been through it herself.
Oh, she's gone through menopause?
Yeah, she went through perimenopause, and she focused on a natural approach with fitness and nutrition.
Okay.
And she really connects with that word, Konenki.
Yeah,
She sees it as a renewal of years and energy.
I love that.
Her whole approach is about nourishing your body with good food, making those lifestyle changes that really stick, and having a good relationship with food. So important.
Isn't it? And she also creates personalized workout plans for people.
So it's not just about supplements.
No, it's about those big picture changes.
Right.
And I understand she offers personal coaching for fitness and nutrition, both online and in person.
Oh, wow.
And she even does food sensitivity testing.
That's really cool.
Yeah, she's all about helping women manage their menopause symptoms through these lifestyle changes, whether they decide to use hormone therapy or not.
And it all fits in with that Konenki idea of being proactive.
Exactly. It's about taking charge of your health.
This whole deep dive into Konenki has been so eye-opening. It's
Right.
like menopause doesn't have to be one thing.
Right.
There are different ways to think about it and go through it.
Absolutely. And culture plays a huge role.
So what are some things our listeners can take away from all of this?
Well, I think a great starting point is to think about your diet.
Okay.
Try adding more healthy whole foods and maybe some moderate amounts of those soy-based products, if that works for you.
And if you're not allergic, exactly. Always listen to your body.
Yeah.
But I think even more important is to try and shift your mindset about this stage of life.
Like how?
See it as a time of growth, wisdom, new beginnings.
Yeah.
Connect with other women who are going through the same thing.
Oh, that community piece again.
It's so important to feel supported.
And being grateful for each stage of life.
Right, that shift in perspective can make all of the difference.
Totally.
And there are also some of those holistic things we talked about.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
You could look into herbal remedies.
Always do your research, though.
Absolutely.
Make sure they're safe for you.
Right. And talk to your doctor.
And acupuncture could be good for stress.
Yeah. And for finding that sense of balance.
And don't forget the gentle exercise.
Yoga, Tai Chi, those are great options.
All good for the mind and body.
Exactly.
And I think it's important to make time for self-care.
Oh, for sure.
Take time to reflect, do things you love.
That's how you step into this phase with energy and purpose.
And don't be afraid to reach out for support.
Whether it's your friends, family, or your healthcare providers.
It's okay to ask for help.
Absolutely.
And of course, keep up with those regular checkups.
And pay attention to what your body's telling you.
Good advice.
And I think this is a good time to take stock of your life.
Oh yeah, like a little check-in.
See what habits are working for you, what you might want to change.
Good idea.
And keep learning. Keep talking about menopause.
Yeah, break down those stigmas.
Exactly.
So really, Konenki gives us this whole different way to see menopause.
It really does.
It's not this negative ending.
It's a transition, a renewal, a chance to feel empowered.
I love that.
And it's a new chapter.
So here's a thought for our listeners.
Yeah.
Because shifting your mindset to be more like Konenki really change your whole experience,
I think so.
even if your background or genetics are different.
It's all about focusing on well-being, valuing the wisdom that comes with age, looking at the good things in this stage of life.
Absolutely.
That's what Konenki is all about.
So think about what parts of this Japanese approach really speak to you.
Yeah, what resonates?
And how can you bring that into your own life?
Maybe it's trying a new tofu recipe.
Or finally taking that yoga class.
Exactly. Little steps can make a big difference.
We hope this deep dive has given you a new way to look at this part of life.
Yeah.
And remember, it can be a time of renewal and growth.